I'm Liam from Maha's Alternative Reality. We're at the Haunted Bookshop. Tonight we'll be interviewing Drew, the owner, looking at a few of the different items he has to offer. Stay tuned.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Drew. You're the owner of the Haunted Bookshop.
The Haunted Bookshop, yes.
Correct. And you've been open since 1997.
1997, opened Halloween that year. It was the day Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan, died.
Is that the reason you opened that?
One of the reasons.
Or just coincidence?
Well, the reason I opened that particular year was it was also the 100th anniversary of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yep.
So it was a good time to open.
So what got you into all of this?
I've always been interested in this area, like a lot of your viewers, I'm sure. I've always been drawn to things that might be described as dark and mysterious. I loved ghost stories. I used to be a newsboy when I was very young, and I used to sell a magazine called Australasian Post, which had the Pinckney Report, which was every week ghost stories from readers of the magazine.
Yep.
And I would read those while I was selling the newspapers in the pubs. And after a while I wanted to find out whether the stories were genuine. Stories which one of my favourites that actually happened to me. Shortly before I opened the shop, I was doing ghost research investigations with a view to writing a book, and I went out to one place in Burwood, and it was two ladies living there, and as I entered the house there was a great big fat cat sitting on the meter box looking threateningly at me, and I thought that's fair enough. Went into the house, and the two ladies there told me about how a ghost had followed them from a house in Northcote over to Werribee to their place in Burwood. I thought that's very interesting. They thought it might have belonged to one of the ladies' husbands, and so what they had done systematically, they had removed objects from the house belonging to the husband into the garage, thinking that, well, maybe the ghost is connected with the objects, and so if they chose the right object, they'd get rid of it. Yeah. I thought that's clever thinking. I had a lady with me who was a medium, who was a psychometrist. These are people who feel objects. And as one by one, psychometrists want to feel, what they do is they feel an object and they relate it to the environment. And so we were handing her objects, her name was Kelly, and she's saying, well, you know, this feels like your husband, or this feels like another lady. And she was saying, you know, the ghost here has, it's not your husband, she said. She said, there's someone else that's actually followed you around.
Yep.
And it's not your husband, it's not male, it's female. And then one of them went really, really white, there was one of the two ladies, and she started thinking, oh, I think I know who it might be. And what happened was, we were getting to an object which was actually a statue of a cat. It belonged to this particular woman, whose name was Bev. Now, as we started asking the two ladies about Bev, we noticed something strange started occurring. In this house, as well as the cat on the front, there were about 6 cats in the house. I was sitting in the lounge, 2 ladies were in the kitchen along with this other lady. And I noticed, as we were talking about this Bev lady, a ghostly black figure appeared near the front of the door and moved across the lounge and came into the kitchen. I was sitting here. Now, I watched this figure and I noticed everyone else watched it, but do you know what really struck me was strange? The fact that these other cats were watching the same figure moving across the lounge. So I knew it wasn't just me or the others, it was the cats watching this figure move into the lounge, into the kitchen, and then disappeared.
So what's the story behind the ghost here? Like, what happened?
Yes, in the early days, we used to run all sorts of workshops and classes. We used to run magic workshops, witchcraft workshops, spellcraft workshops. I used to give talks on ghosts and tarot workshops and seance workshops.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lady called Angelica who's a very good psychic or medium, and she was actually a lawyer, and we used to do a lot of seance workshops together here. Now, we knew that there was a ghost here, but it wasn't until we started doing the seance workshops that he appeared.
Yep.
And he appeared regularly. And now we had a lot of ghosts appear from the street and whatever. And he introduced himself as Donald. And we were using a mix. Sometimes we'd use a Ouija board, sometimes we'd do overheads. And Donald would come through, and look, we thought he was just one of many. Then he started telling us his story. And he said he actually died here. And what it was that he had a drinking problem.
Yep.
This is about 150 years old. It's bluestone. It's one of the, Melbourne was founded in what, 1835. So you're talking about the 1850s and 60s. So it's quite old.
Yep.
It's been many things. It's a shipping area, so it's a storehouse. He used to drink. And he said that he fell down the stairs at the back of the shop.
You sell a lot of different tarot cards. What's the difference
Yeah, we had
between
about
each one?
300 different decks at one stage.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very popular in the mid-90s to about 4 or 5 years ago. The reason there are so many different designs is because it's just like an art gallery. Personal taste, people resonate or connect with certain designs, but ultimately it's like learning music. You know, you learn the scales, but once you learn sheet music, you can play the oboe, you can play the guitar, you can play the piano.
Yeah, so each one are the same.
Each one, the tarot is a system, like sheet music is a system, but you can use the Rider-Waite deck, the Aleister Crowley-Toth deck, or even a deck of playing cards.
Yep.
But once you know the rules, the language of the tarot, it actually reflects where you are now, so that, and you can work out where you've been, work out where you are now, and based on following the language of the tarot, like music.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not sleight of hand or anything dodgy.
Yeah.
It's like saying anyone who learns sheet music knowing how a song will flow or dissect a song is dodgy. No. It's using probabilities.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got that mystical hue because it was associated with gypsies and fortune tellers and things like that. But now, increasingly, I get psychology students from Melbourne University coming along because they realise that tarot helps you to think visually.
Thanks a lot for that, Drew. It was a lot of fun hearing all of your stories. I hope all of the viewers enjoyed it. I've been Liam from Maha's Alternative Reality.